All right, everybody. Well, happy Friday and welcome to another thrilling episode of Boston New Technologies Fireside Fridays. I have with me today a legend among us in the startup space, innovation space, entertainment space. The list goes on. Irina is someone that I met due to the Startup Spring event that Prepare for VC and Boston New Technology put together in April. And then we did a lot of amazing work at Startup Weekend with Techstars. And I've been looking forward to this for so long. So, as you know, this is our fireside chat series where we talk with amazing people from all over the world. Today, we're going to learn a little bit about Irina, her story, what she's doing now, what she hopes to do in the near future, and all kinds of other stuff. So I'm going to give the floor over to you. Irina, please take us away with your introduction.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you today. And it was such an amazing intro, by the way. I never thought I'm a legend in startup industries, but it 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 feels amazing right now. Thank you.
You're most definitely welcome. So why I say that is because we've heard from a lot of people in our community how much of an impact you made for them with what it is that you do, and we're going to get into that as well in just a minute. But I think it's always good to start very naturally at the beginning, and you have a very interesting story. Coming to United States, but also having lived and traveled and worked extensively like all over the world. I would say by my estimation, you're like a citoyen du monde, like a citizen of the world. I mean, what do you think about that? Certainly, you've been to many different places and starting out in Russia, but then going all over the world.
Yes, definitely. I would consider myself as a global citizen. And if I was about to live for at least 100 or maybe 200 years, I would definitely consider living in multiple countries because this is the thing called cultural code, which when you unpack, you do understand how to negotiate things with people, doing business with different nationalities, and it's so helpful. It broadens your spectrum, it opens your mind, it gives you the whole level of new opportunities, and I think this is amazing. So I consider myself having an accent, having that Russian background, and also having the experience of living in the United Kingdom. That is actually my treasure set. The set of knowledge of being able to break into different industries and different um, cultural markets, geographical markets, and I think this is a big advantage of doing business in any country.
I think it also demands a certain level of which you have so much respect for others in understanding who they are, where they're coming from. I mean, if we, go down for just a moment to the entrepreneurial level, we saw this firsthand with the startup weekend where like you were working very, very closely with these people who are so new to
Yes.
turning their ideas into ideas they've had for either a long time or maybe just over the past few hours. Who knows? But turning those ideas into tangible realities and being very patient. I also see you as like myself, something of a connector. I mean, if you do identify as that, could you tell me like what does it mean to you to connect with others? Because I see you connecting with your voice. You also connect with your expertise, like your business expertise, entertainment, all of that. What does it mean to you to connect, or for you to connect?
I think it's the ability to see the whole another level of communication and collaboration on a whole another level of love. When you see that, oh my God, if we connect these two people, they will do an amazing business. So basically, it is somehow predicting the future in some way, and that's where the whole magic is. And this is why I don't want to do that. Because I see this whole another set of opportunities for people and how magical they can connect with each other. And I think that's what really gives me happiness to see other people growing confidence to reach their success.
Amazing. I think in true startup fashion, though, we're going to have you make a little bit of an adjustment because you weren't coming in as clearly on that question on the audio side. Um, so, is there a way for you to try and like, can you adjust the audio just a bit? Like, from there? Let's see.
Uh,
There you go. Perfect.
all good?
It's perfect now. All good. Yes, I want everybody to be able to hear you, not only because you have such a nice voice, but because you have so many amazing things to say. And I did get the majority of what it is that you were saying back there. But, and yes, I agree. I mean, I think despite being born in Boston, growing up in a very Bostonian way, like right in the North End waterfront area here where there's a lot of rich history, I've always, wanted to broaden my horizons, go to different places. And you are like that simply just to speak to. I feel like I speak to so many different cultures when we have our dialogues with one another. How do you think cultural diversity and like different lived experiences affect entrepreneurship? Because as we know, like entrepreneurship comes in like many different shapes and sizes, and I'm sure you work with a lot of different kinds of entrepreneurs, right? Especially those who happen to be women. I would love to know your opinion on this.
So I would say that being culturally diverse, it really helps in business a lot because you know how to negotiate with people. You know what to expect from them. Because, for example, so many of my American friends, they find it really difficult to connect with people from Eastern Europe, for example, and vice versa. So they do not understand that sort of cultural code that they need to follow if they want to reach a successful negotiation point. And I think collaborating, networking, connecting with people, it's in the core of doing any sort of business. And right now we are here in the United States, and this is a whole melting pot of different cultures, different nationalities, and it's very, very important to understand all of them and how you basically not negotiating what do you want for your business, but basically creating the mutual value for your joint ventures.
What you're describing is like this, establishment of bridges of understanding,
Yes.
between others. And it's something that thrills me as I know it thrills you. And there's so many mediums in which to do this. Like for you and me, it often takes the form of music or it takes the form of doing, business things. I wonder, probably something that a lot of people who are listening to this and watching this, those who are present with us live right now, but also those who will be watching this on the YouTube later, is how what was your entry point into entrepreneurship? When did Irina realize that in addition to all the other things that you have in your toolkit, I also want to do or explore the idea of getting into business, getting into entrepreneurship?
Well, I would not consider splitting both industries from one from another. So entertainment side was always going closely to my business side. And when you're trying to grow in the entertainment industry, you need to book gigs, you need to also negotiate some contracts, you need to connect with people, making collaborations and all that stuff. You need to be a good negotiator, you need to understand your marketing side, and you need to sell yourself, basically your project as well. And so it's all about business skills. And what I found out, what really was standing what was the very unique point about my personality is always developing my business skills, the business skills of pitching, the business skills of marketing myself, selling, and all those key points of being a very successful ent- entrepreneur or entertainment professional. So, speaking about my business side, it was always there, and I have so many funny stories when I was, for example, living in London and trying to find some singing gigs, and I was going to the clubs asking them, okay, guys, so let's work together. I can, bring another type of the audience to your club. I can sing there. And it was, and all of them were like, okay, yes, you definitely can sing there, but we consider you being our creative producer. or our marketing manager, because you do understand the selling point, the marketing point of our business. So this is how it was always.
That's amazing. It's interesting because, you know, way back a couple of years ago, I always had this thought that, and I've spoken to a bunch of people both in the industry of entertainment and in entrepreneurship, that there is this synergy. I know that even with synergy, of course, you have like points of differentiation, but like this one entrepreneur that I'll never forget, I consider him one of my closest friends, and he also happens to work at Wentworth Institute of Technology. We were supposed to run into each other during Startup Weekend, but his name is Josh Larson. I don't mind shouting him out here. He had this like really great music startup, like basically it was helping performers like yourself book gigs and like book gigs at great places and all of that. So I've always seen this like interplay. I just know that sometimes people are like they push back on either side. They're like, well, critics of it would say critics of the connection between creativity and entrepreneurship would be like, oh well, creative should just be able to create. They shouldn't have to think about business. On the other side, it's like, oh, I don't want to think about business. It's like, but I do think they both connect, and I appreciate you like pushing back on me that way because it's always been something that's fascinated me. And if we can just spend a little bit more time on it, I wonder where do you think that comes from in terms of like people sometimes, even like I did, kind of accidentally, like misconceiving that there's a split where there really ought not to be.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%, and I would love to dive more into that. So, if we define the word creator, it doesn't mean that you're just creating music or you're creating some art or you're creating some sort of, entertainment industry fields, whatever, whatever your craft is, basically. Creating and being a creator is a creating your own life and being responsible for every single aspect of that. So what I do not like about entertainment professionals is all about that they're wanting to meet someone who will bring them a magic pill, a sort of a very um, well-connected producer that will bring them to the whole major stage, then they will reach a whole level of success, which is not about it. It's about creating your own path of connecting with the audience, of discovering your calling basically, and forming that into the shape of some tangible, like you said, asset of your creation and your product, your basically entertainment project, which you know how to pitch, which you know how to penetrate into the market itself. And it's all about being creative, it's all about being a creator, and it all requires business skills for sure.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And I really feel like it's one of those situations where the more and more we engage in a meaningful dialogue about collaboration between these two things, the better. I guess I'm also wondering, like, at what point did you, having gotten all this experience, picking up all this knowledge from place to place? I know you're very like myself. You want to help others. When did that like inspiration for Anima, like the light bulb moment for Irina? When did that occur? Was it a single point in time, or was it almost like more of a convergence of different things? Because I know aha moments are sometimes not moments; they're many other things too.
I would say it was a big journey. Uh, I was I had an experience of being a voice coach, teaching people how to sing, how to pitch, how to present themselves, how to do public speaking, almost all my life, like since I was 18 years old. And what I love the most from that experience is seeing people finding themselves, finding their true identity, and expressing this identity to this world. So when I had an experience in London of working for women's community as a creative producer, I found myself that I can actually, implement all my business skills, my creative side, my perspective, and my experience in entertainment industry into a whole new project where I can combine all of these assets and help people not only find their voice but also bringing them connections in business and giving them a platform where they can become visible.
I love that. I love that because I've always felt that if we have superpowers, and I feel like you do, you have several, it's always so amazing when we can use ours to help others awaken theirs. And I've said this to Marsh, who's here in the audience. I've said this to a couple of other people in passing. I wish I knew you when I was younger, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. When I was a young entrepreneur, what feels like forever ago, working for my papa, being his marketing co-founder. It was ironic because I was his marketing co-founder, but for a while, I had to overcome my shyness. I had to find my feet. I was like those people that you mentored at Startup Weekend, which is another reason why I love Startup Weekend so much, and I know you did as well,
Yes.
because I knew that I wanted to be a part of all this. I knew that I had so much to contribute, but I just kept looking at my shoes. I kept struggling to find that voice within me that now I know that I have, and everybody's like, "Oh, Steve, you're so confident. Oh, Steve, you have so much energy." You know, but the thing that also connects us to you is there were individuals who are very similar in their service to others, like you, who like took a chance on me, and that is how it happens so often. Like, there were people like the founder, for example, Boston New Technology, who provided me with a platform in terms of a safe um, opportunity every month to come and enjoy myself at the events. And then eventually one day I woke up and I could talk like this. But for a while I couldn't. We were working with an entrepreneur yesterday. I think you're familiar with him. And people were saying you need to slow down just a bit. But then I took it aside a bit and I said to him, you know what? I used to speak so fast. I used to, and with my Boston accent, you can just imagine, and a lot of that has kind of like diluted itself. I mean, back in the day, you needed subtitles whenever I spoke. And I told this to him too. I'm like, the fact that you're putting in an effort, I love that. I see that you do this with others too. Anima, Startup Weekend, everything like. And I guess that leads to my next question. So, when you are somebody who is trying to help others find their voice, how do you what kind of skills should you develop, including like patience, because these people are you're going to be meeting them where they're at, and like what have you learned from working with them, and where do you think that ends up in terms of like being able to give advice to those who are aspiring to be voices for others?
Actually, I think it's much easier than just cultivating patience in your working field with those people. It's all about finding that right approach to them and helping them to highlight their strengths. So when you focusing on their superpowers rather than this inability to, speak confidently, to pitch their ideas, to formulate their thoughts, there is there where the true magic is really for me. And I think this is one of my superpowers is to see in people their superpowers and helping them to voice them actually confidently and very naturally.
Yes, I emphatically agree. I feel like often that is something that people don't even think about as being a skill, as being a superpower. For a long time, like when people would ask me, what is it you do, Steve, in the startup world? I would say, I write things because I used to do a lot of writing back in the day. I go to events, I introduce people to each other. I couldn't define it. I could describe characteristics of my work, and that was okay. But people will always challenge me, the good people like you. No, as a coach, I want you to go deeper, and I want you to tell me what is your why. So now I can answer that question. I can tell you that my why is I want to help bring people, places, and things together in a way that leads to really extraordinarily positive outcomes. And sometimes, like you said, all it takes is standing somewhere or sitting somewhere and watching and listening, and then immediately, like you see, oh, it could happen this way, it could happen that way. This person and that person could get along really well, and that it's almost like cooking. Really, you get all the ingredients together and you make something. It's very rewarding. So the other thing about anima that I've always wondered is, can you tell me more about like if somebody joins Anima, what can they expect in terms of both a day-to-day experience, or if that's like, maybe like what is the, I hate to call it a user experience. What is the community experience? There we go. What is the, oh, it was too technical. What is the community experience of being a member of Anima?
Being a member of Anima is diving into your true superpowers. It's finding your calling, basically your soul, which is Italian word anima, by the way. So it's all about doing business with passion, or finding your true passion and doing business with your passion, with your calling, with your soul, and feeling like you become invisible to the space, to the environment, and also finding the right tribe that inspire you, support you, and also the community experience, and especially in anima, it's all about time compression. So when you wanna reach the success in the in a very short time frame, this is all about it, because you will have this immersive experience of meeting the right people, having a network of really powerful individuals, but also having your new friends, your new tribe supporting you, inspiring you, and receiving the education that you need here right now for your business. I think this is it.
I think so as well. It's very, to me, it is a blessing that we're working together now, Anima and Boston New Technology, because some will know this, some will not, especially if, like, they're tuning in Premier Community. They don't know much about me or much about Boston New Technology. So I mentioned how the founder was so instrumental in like bringing me out of my shell. But at the same time, that was Boston old technology in a sense that it was many years ago. What I would love to preserve is the anima of Boston new technology in the sense that that kindness of Christopher Kenna, that compassion, that hospitality, absolutely. So too with Marsh, who's here, but then we also look in the audience and we see people like Buka, we see people like Flora. These are the faces of the new technology of Boston New Technology. So I am being guided every day to try and do this one thing very well, to balance having our values always with the values, but also with the vision for innovation. And that's another thing I wish to speak with you about, because you were one of, the folks, like a couple, I remember when our first conversation took place, you were talking about like Web3, you were talking about NFTs. That to me is a thing where you do have to have a very like visionary mindset. You have to have like this confidence, this courage to believe in the potential of emerging technologies. So balancing our values, who we are, what we're all about, showing up. But then what I would ask you is, you have all of that on lock, but what about when you take risks on technology, new ideas? Like, where does that where does that courage come from? And how can all of us find it when we want to do new technology style things in our own lives?
Well, I really think we really need to, all of us entrepreneurs, we need to look for these innovative solutions always and new technologies. Because if you think about what happened with, for example, Kodak company, they were the most influential photography enterprise for many, many years. And then when the whole world switched to digital, they were out of the market. This is what happens when you don't pay attention to technology, when you don't pay attention to new inventions and all of that. So I think if you're doing your own business, you should definitely consider following all new inventions, even way before they come to the market. And having that ability, I think it's a big superpower. And that's why I love Boston New Technology, because I think all of their members, they do have this superpower of feeling the right moment of bringing new technology to the market or sensing the new technology coming up in the nearest future.
Yes, and to me, it can be distilled down still further when once again we think about the kind of people that we helped standing up the startup weekend. When I think about our friends, the participants, these were risk takers. These were new technology innovators, really, who were doing everything from like robotics to
Yes,
it's like a wide variety of so many different ideas, and you
so
know,
inspiring. Yes,
so very inspiring. Yes, and that's the mindset that I have. It's like, I shouldn't be discouraged by wanting to take risks and being bold because I'm surrounded by bold people that love to do the same. And we're on this great voyage of discovery. Like every day, for example, we're having an upcoming fireside chat that I hope you can join us for with a wonderful woman, Navneet Kaur, who's the co-founder of Femtech India. So got up this morning super early so I could talk to her. 6 o'clock in the morning, our fireside chat begins, like prep and all that. And she's telling me about what she's been able to do for femtech in India and other places. And it just dawned on me. I'm going to be talking to Irina today. I'm so excited about that. But all of these people that are doing things, they're unique. The things they're doing are unique. But at the core, there is like this mission. There is this like compassion. There's this, empathy and technology. Maybe if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a question about that. Where do you think empathy plays a role in technology? Because obviously you've done coaching, you've used your voice to reach people, touch people in their innermost selves. Where can we put empathy into technology? And ironically, ask it, I know, again, in a very technical way, like it's an integration of some kind. But I know you will understand.
I think this is a whole, another level of thinking when you bring in the technology inside your inner world and you're not making it something like a stranger to your business and to yourself, but basically having a relationship with them. And I think it's very important for every single person, entrepreneur, businessman, to think about any sort of relationship that they do have with multiple things in their lives. It's all about relationship with your voice, all about the relationship with money, all about relationship with technology itself. So when you find this exact unique way to connect with all of those aspects, this is where your unique selling proposition lies, your calling, and the actual when you feel that everything is aligned around your mission. So I think it's all about feeling that and also cultivating the relationship with that.
Yes. So our friend Marsh has put a statement into the chat that I think you would like, which is
Yes,
this is about relationships. Yes. Yeah.
exactly.
I
Exactly.
feel.
But
Go
yeah,
ahead, please.
but diving into that point, it's not if we just, see the deepest meaning of that. It's not just about relationship with people. It's sometimes about the relationship with ourselves, our soul, like I said, our passion. And we need to work on that every single day, doing some baby steps.
So when people ask me, this is another reason why I simply adore speaking to you all the time, because it's almost like you anticipate exactly what's resting in my mind. When people ask me, what is it that is different about, say, the way that, Jason Krause and I teach our entrepreneurs about how we see like the entrepreneurial journey? I know some people focus on like technical development, some people focus on validating your idea, which you should. All of this is very important. All of this is like essential. But where we start is with something very different, which is self-efficacy, which is this ability within ourselves. And you encapsulated it so wonderfully when you said, it's about also with, that relationship with oneself, being honest with oneself. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I've had startup ideas where I've been like, hey, I could do this, and it would work like that. But then that inner voice of honesty is like, yeah, probably not. It sounds like a good idea, but maybe it would not work out. Or conversely, it is that voice of confidence that's like, okay, but now we're going to turn it into something beyond ideation. So with self-efficacy, what I love about it and why I think it's so Irina like, Irina-esque is because it is about realizing, okay, this is what I'm good at, core competencies, superpowers. Now, here, I'm not going to get nervous. I'm going to focus on also those aspects of myself that are like, they need improvement, they need adjustment. They're not bad things. I'm not a bad person because, say, for example, I take a while to get to the point. Just ask Marsh, for instance. I'm not bad because of that. I just need to work on it. But at the same time, it's like at the end, what is the sum of that equation? The sum is okay. I now have a more clear understanding of myself, which means that when certain things happen, challenges, opportunities, I'm going to be in a much better shape. But the question that I would have you ponder is I know that I am a man, I see things through a man's perspective, but I know that with Anima, so much of it is put towards female founders. And with you being an advocate, a guide for these female founders, how is how is that experience different, and what can we who are men, we who are looking at things from a different lens, how can we develop empathy for our sisters, our fellow founders who are like doing all this? What are some of the things that are unique to their own startup journeys through this self-efficacy understanding?
I never felt that I'm a woman in a male dominated industry or somehow like that. I always took it as an advantage of being a woman because, I know my strength, I know my weaknesses. And sometimes it's just like you said, being honest to yourself, that's the key. And I do think that it's very important for us females to have males and men by our side because there are some things that we really need to be supported with. And in terms of like you said, and like I already focused on that, is doing collaboration. It's not just focusing of us being females in the male dominated industries, but also find ways to collaborate with each other and find some ways to negotiate things better and to focus on both strength and weaknesses to develop a really cool joint venture with each other. And the way that I'm putting this to my community, it's always about not thinking, oh, from that perspective, from the victim's perspective, but from the superpower perspective. So, what value can I bring to this male dominated world if you work in any? So, I think it's all about that. It's all about creating mutual value. It's all about understanding each other's superpowers and working together. And it doesn't matter if it is a male or female or I don't know, like gender neutral or whatever it is right now in this world. It's all about thinking beyond that. It's all about thinking about the value and your mission.
So there's one reason why I love that response, and it's this. In an analogy sense, it's like you and I walked in front of a door, and then you pulled out a key and you opened the door, in the sense that instead of seeing things, and this is so undeniable about you, about obstacles. You're an obstacle remover. You're not simply an obstacle identifier, you know? It's one of these things where, okay, Steve, you've given me what sounds like a problem or what sounds like a somewhat tricky situation. Hold on a minute. Hold my beer. I'm going to solve it. I'm going to
Yeah.
show you how to solve it. It really is collaboration in that both metaphorical and literal sense is the key. It's the
Yeah.
key that helps unlock whatever was locked up, whether it was that, lack of understanding, the lack of empathy, because, maybe it's because people don't communicate properly one with the other. I mean, you and I are lucky. We obviously have a very good rapport with each other, but for others, like it may take some time. And what I like about your advice is, well, if you are wondering what it is like, if you're wondering how you might help, do it. roll up your sleeves and do it. Like just find an opportunity to work with others. One of my mentors actually has this saying, which is like, there's two ways you can find out about somebody. You can live with them, and most people are not going to want to do that, or you could work with them. You could like do a project with them. So, as an ecosystem development person, just like yourself, just like Buka, like that's what I'm constantly challenged by in a good way. It's like, okay, I see all of these ways to make people work together, but how? How in a way that honors them? Because you don't want to just always prescribe things that like are based off of your own assumptions, but also like, how do I do things thoughtfully? And I want to thank you because I feel like you've been lately very helpful for me with this. Like when we have our discussions about different sorts of topics. And as we shift now more towards like the latter half of the fireside chat, I'm actually going to introduce an interesting concept. So we pretty much covered all the things that I wanted to ask you. So now this new segment is I want you to ask me some things also. I want you to ask me whatever you want when it comes to similar style, And then once that's done, if anybody in the audience has questions, we can take those and then we'll wrap.
Awesome. I would ask you a question about what motivates you, because I think that the driver for any sort of activity, especially for business, especially for being an ecosystem, this is such a, um, very, very difficult and time consuming thing. So, what is your true motivation? What is your necessity in this sort of field?
So you asked me two very beautiful questions, and I'm going to treat them with the utmost care. It's like, holding those little Fabergé eggs in my hands and like wanting to not damage them, but put them down gently. So I would say the first case, like, what is my real motivation? I do seriously want to give back. And the reason for that is because if others were not there for me, I wouldn't be where I am. Like I gave the story earlier about like when I first started out in this business, like I was so shy, I was so unsure, so uncertain, but also so much looking for a opportunity to belong and to be part of something. And like when I think about, Stephanie Rulick and Startup Boston Week, for example, again, Chris with Boston New Technology, I saw the way in which they do things and did things. And I'm like, you know, if I can use my skills, if I can use my skills at communication, if I can use my skills at relationship building to reach those who were or are like me, because we're always looking with that lens, but also like I see very clearly now, like never before, that entrepreneurship and innovation both serve a very real and essential role in this world, which is they help to not only make the society prosperous, but they're the fuel and the engine of progress. So this is so true all throughout history. If I can play a part in that, amazing. And then the other thing is like, I believe you asked me about what is the necessity. The necessity is to take care of our people. I am very, very, very fastidious about that. And I know that like as I see it with you too, like, but I look to other people in the industry too that are very doggedly determined to like, it's always about the entrepreneur. It's always about serving their needs, but also sometimes you have to let them know this is what you want, but it's not what you need. So yeah, I think it's also somewhat of a work in progress. I appreciate the question.
Of course. Beautiful answer. Thank you so much.
I have a good teacher here. So what else is on Irina's mind in terms of? I mean, you can think about like everything that we've been talking about, but also I know we've had a lot of interactions like outside of this, and I'm always filling your mind with ideas.
You mean like what is on my horizon right now? What I'm
Mm, yeah.
okay.
What's next? What's next for Irina?
Oh, I'm doing so many things right now. I'm literally like sleeping for 4 hours each day because
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about building our community. We are going to have a very great, great opening grand opening event in the end of January. And basically, the unique thing about it, as I already said, is our opportunity to give people a platform to become visible. So we're giving the stage to our members to voice their ideas to the most exclusive audience, which is handpicked, including investors, top business professionals, film executives, entertainment executives. We have all of them amazing, great people, and our members would be able to voice their ideas, their projects, their businesses, their stories to this audience. And I think from the networking perspective, this is such a wonderful thing. So once you hit the stage, people will approach you. You don't have to, you go and run and meet people and asking them some questions, trying to gather their attention and to find the connection. People will come to you because you will be already a superstar for them.
I am so excited about that. What's happening in January, and as you know, it really lines up with a lot of the other stuff that we're doing. So I mean, everybody can just stay tuned for more news where that's concerned. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think if nobody else has any questions for Irina, she's a very busy woman, and I have to go put out some fires of my own. So all good, everything's fine, but typical startup life type of stuff. So I want to first and foremost thank you for your time. It's been wonderful, and I can't wait to do more things with you. How can people how can people stay in touch with you? And I will also give you the last word. So this is the last time everybody will hear me speaking on this fireside chat. I just want to give you an opportunity to tell people how to stay in touch, and then you take us out. You give us your last word.
You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm always there by Irina Sinclair. And I'm looking forward to connecting with all of you. And if you have any questions, if you need any help, if you need any assistance of me serving you in any sort of your business journey, your entertainment journey, or if you feel connected with both industries, hit me up and we'll go from there.
Nice. So I lied. You are going to hear my voice again just to say goodbye. So it's been fantastic being here with you, Irina, with all of our friends in the audience, and this will go up on our YouTube in a few days. But thank you, everybody, and we hope you have a fantastical Friday. Thank you.
Thank you so much.